In the last 6 months, 3 major investigations into ukchicken have been published. Almost no one is talking about what they actually found. I'm Luke, and after going through Food Standards Agency contamination data, animal welfare reports, and thousands of customer reviews, I found 7 UK supermarket chickens you should stop buying immediately, plus 4 that actually earn a place in your kitchen. The worst one on this list isn't who you'd expect, and the health risk it carries has nothing to do with how the chicken tastes. Hit subscribe before we get into it. This starts with the brand that's been in British shopping baskets for over 150 years, and recently handed back an award in public embarrassment. At number 7, Sainsbury's. Sainsbury's was supposed to be different. Founded in 1869, they built their entire reputation on quality and doing things properly. So when they voluntarily accepted a Good Chicken Award for their welfare commitments, customers believed them. Then came the moment that tells you everything you need to know about how much those promises were worth. They handed the award back. Not because standards improved, because they admitted they couldn't meet the commitments they'd made in the first place. That's not a supplier problem, that's not a logistics issue. That's a company that made public promises about animal welfare, accepted recognition for it, and then quietly let everything slide until the embarrassment became too much to hide. Here's where it gets weird. Fast forward to today, and less than 20% of their chicken meets RSPCA standards, despite previous pledges to reach 100%. The majority of what you're buying is still from fast-growing breeds raised in intensive conditions, hitting slaughter weight in just over 5 weeks. Their breaded and processed products tell an even uglier story. Roughly 60% of Sainsbury's nuggets and similar items are reformed meat, not whole chicken breast. Scraps and trimmings pressed together with binding agents and coated in breadcrumbs to hide what you're actually eating. And here's where it starts to affect your health. Those binding agents typically include phosphate additives, compounds linked in peer-reviewed research to accelerated kidney disease progression when consumed regularly. Most people eating processed chicken products several times a week have no idea that's in there. One customer reported cooking what she thought was a premium whole chicken for 5 hours because it kept showing pink inside. 5 hours. Chicken that won't cook through after that long is a sign that something is off with the bird itself. The next brand didn't just let standards slip, they actively made sure you couldn't find out about it. Coming in at number 6, Morrisons. Most companies, when caught with poor welfare standards, issue a statement, promise to do better, and quietly hope the story dies. Morrisons went further. When television presenter Chris Packham began investigating their chicken supply chain, Morrisons didn't just decline to comment. They actively worked to suppress the coverage and block unflattering footage from reaching the public. Think about what that tells you. A company confident in its practices doesn't spend resources killing stories. A company with something to hide does. Before we continue, here's the part most people miss. What they were hiding isn't complicated. Around 60% of Morrisons' chicken range is heavily processed, like nuggets, reformed strips and breaded shapes, rather than actual whole cuts. Their supply chains run through Eastern European facilities where antibiotic standards and welfare requirements don't match what British regulations technically demand. The quality decline has become impossible for long-term customers to ignore. People who bought Morrisons chicken for years are suddenly finding it cooks strangely, smells wrong, or turns slimy within a day of opening. That sliminess isn't just unpleasant. It's a sign of high bacterial load developing on meat that was already borderline when it was packaged. Eating chicken at that stage significantly raises your risk of Campylobacter infection, the UK's most common form of food poisoning, responsible for an estimated 280,000 cases every year. And here's something worth remembering next time you see their pre-seasoned chicken on special offer. Heavy seasoning on budget processed chicken can serve a practical purpose beyond flavour. It may help cover up off smells in meat that's past its best. Some of those spice blends in budget processed products have also been found to contain elevated levels of ochratoxin A, a mold-produced toxin that accumulates in the body and has been classified as a possible human carcinogen by the International Agency for Research on Cancer. That's 2 brands built on broken promises. The next one is different. This one built its entire identity on doing the right thing, which makes what's coming next genuinely shocking. At number 5, it's Co-op. This one stings more than most because Co-op has spent decades building a reputation as the ethical choice. Fair trade, community values, doing business differently, it's built into their entire identity, which makes what's happening with their chicken supply chain particularly hard to swallow. But almost nobody knows what comes next. Behind the ethical branding, Co-op sources the majority of their standard chicken from the same intensive farming operations as every discount supermarket on this list. Fast-growing breeds, 5-week slaughter cycles, birds that grow so rapidly their legs can't properly support their own weight. The same white striping disease, fat deposits streaking through muscle because growth outpaces development, that plagues budget chicken across the industry. That condition increases fat content by up to 224%, while reducing actual protein by around 9%. You're paying for nutrition you're not getting. Co-op has made noises about improvements. They have welfare commitments written into their documentation. But commitments written in documents and independently verified practices are 2 entirely different things. Until Co-op allows full transparency into their supply chain and signs the Better Chicken commitment with genuine third-party verification, the gap between their marketing and their sourcing remains exactly that, a gap. For a brand that charges a premium specifically because customers trust their ethics, that gap isn't just disappointing, it's a form of deception. Quick reset, 3 brands down, and the pattern is identical every time. The label says one thing, the supply chain says another. Number 4 is where the scale of this problem becomes almost impossible to believe. Number 4 on the list, Tesco. Tesco isn't just the biggest supermarket in Britain. They are one of the most powerful food buyers on the planet, and that power is precisely the problem. When you control the volumes Tesco controls, you don't ask suppliers to meet your standards. You tell them what you'll pay, and suppliers either find a way to deliver at that price or lose the contract. The inevitable result is a race to the bottom where cutting corners isn't optional, it's survival. Let's pause for 1 second. The chicken that comes out of that system is what you find on Tesco shelves today. Up to 18% added water by weight. Nearly £1 in every 5 you are paying for isn't chicken, it's tap water with salt and phosphates mixed in to help it absorb. Customers report watching chicken breasts shrink to half their size in the pan, releasing so much liquid that what should be roasting becomes boiling in its own watery discharge. That added water isn't neutral, it's retained using sodium phosphates, and high dietary sodium phosphate intake has been consistently linked in clinical research to cardiovascular stress, particularly in people who already have elevated blood pressure. It's in the chicken, it's not on the front of the pack. Tesco chicken also has some of the highest bacterial contamination rates among major UK supermarkets, according to Food Standards Agency testing data. And for a company with Tesco's resources and buying power, that's a choice, not an accident. They have the leverage to demand better from every supplier in their chain. They have simply decided not to use it. The horsemeat scandal of 2013 should have been the moment that changed everything. Tesco sold beef products containing horse for months before anyone caught on. The explanation was complicated supply chains and insufficient oversight. More than a decade later, the supply chains are more complicated, the oversight hasn't meaningfully improved, and customers are still left wondering what's actually inside that package with the nice British flag on the front. Stay with me because the next 3 get significantly worse. And number 1 carries a risk that most people have never even considered. At number 3, it's Asda. The red tractor logo is supposed to mean something. It's supposed to be a guarantee. British standards, British farms, British welfare requirements. Customers see it and feel reassured. That's exactly what it's designed to do. Here's what it doesn't tell you. Asda sources significant volumes of chicken from Poland through a supplier called Superdrop, a company exposed in 2024 for systematic use of antibiotics that are banned in the UK. Those birds raised with drugs that aren't legal here were imported anyway, because the oversight that's supposed to catch this is, in practice, virtually non-existent. This next discovery surprised even me. When that imported chicken arrives, it gets packaged under names like Butcher's Selection, a label that implies a level of care and craft that has nothing to do with what's actually inside. The birds show white striping disease rates of 94% in recent testing, fat content dramatically elevated, protein significantly reduced. You're paying meat prices for a product that has been fundamentally compromised at the farming stage before it ever reaches a British processing facility. The banned antibiotics found in some of this supply chain include compounds from the fluoroquinolone class, drugs that are critically important in human medicine. When residues of these drugs pass through food, they contribute to resistance developing in human gut bacteria. That's not a theoretical concern. European food safety authorities flagged it explicitly in their 2023 annual report. Multiple customers report opening Asda chicken with several days left before the use-by date and finding it already smells wrong. One customer found a 2-pence coin inside a whole chicken. When they complained, the staff response was that Asda has nothing to do with how the chicken is packaged. It arrives that way. No apology, no concern, just deflection. If Asda's problem is deception, the next brand's problem is a deliberate 2-tier system. One standard for some countries, a lower one for you. Coming in at number 2, Aldi. In 2021, Aldi France signed the Better Chicken Commitment. Slower growing breeds, natural light, environmental enrichment, lower stocking densities, real verifiable welfare improvements for French customers who buy Aldi chicken. In the UK, Aldi has refused to sign it. Quick reality check. That's not an oversight. That's not a timing issue. That's a deliberate decision that appears to leave British customers with lower standards than French ones. You are, in effect, treated as a second-tier market where welfare commitments aren't seen as commercially necessary in Mercery because enough people will keep buying regardless of what's in the package. What's in the package is chicken with a 92% white striping disease rate, among the worst in the country, from the fastest growing breeds available, reaching slaughter weight in 5 weeks or less. Ashfield Farm, the name on the label, isn't a real farm. It's a brand name attached to industrial production. There is no Ashfield Farm in the pastoral sense the packaging suggests. There are sheds, and there are birds that grow so fast their bodies cannot properly develop. Customers consistently report a rubbery, stringy texture that doesn't improve no matter how it's cooked. Others describe it as tasting of very little, like chewing on a kitchen sponge with vague poultry undertones. That texture is consistent with a bird that was never given the time or conditions to develop properly. Right, 6 down. But I want to pause here for a second because what's coming next isn't just about food quality or misleading labels. This one has a direct line to a global health crisis, and it starts in your freezer aisle. And at number 1, Iceland. Everything on this list has been about quality, about welfare, about being misled by marketing. Iceland brings something more serious to the table. This isn't just about chicken that tastes wrong. This is about a public health problem that will outlast every supermarket on this list. Iceland sources heavily from Thailand and Poland, specifically including the same supplier, Superdrop, exposed in 2024 for systematic welfare violations and illegal antibiotic use. Undercover footage showed birds unable to walk, open wounds left untreated, stocking densities so extreme the chickens couldn't move. That's not a rogue farm, that's a supply chain that passed the checks required to reach British shelves. Here's where it gets weird. But the bigger issue is what routine antibiotic use creates. Testing has found that roughly 24% of UK supermarket chicken samples carry antibiotic-resistant bacteria. Poultry from high-use regions like Thailand and Poland shows even higher rates. Every time resistant bacteria enter the food chain, they have the potential to transfer resistance to pathogens that matter, the ones that cause serious human infections that doctors then can't treat effectively. This isn't hypothetical. The World Health Organization lists antibiotic resistance as one of the greatest threats to global health. The UK government's own projections estimate that drug-resistant infections could account for tens of thousands of additional deaths annually in Britain by 2050 if current trajectories continue. Cheap frozen chicken is one small thread in that much larger problem. It's not the whole story, and no single supermarket is solely responsible for antibiotic resistance. But it's one contributing thread, and Iceland's supply chain is a visible example of it. Iceland's prices look like a bargain. Part of that cost may simply be showing up elsewhere, in welfare standards, in antibiotic use, and potentially, over time, in medicines that work less well when they're actually needed. So where does that leave you? 7 brands, one consistent pattern, speed over welfare, profit over quality, marketing over truth. If this is opening your eyes to what's actually in your fridge, subscribe right now. The next investigation in this series is already in production, and it covers a product that's in almost every British kitchen, with problems that make chicken look straightforward. Now let's talk about what's actually worth buying. First up, Ocado represents the upgrade most shoppers overlook. Ocado doesn't get mentioned in most conversations about chicken quality, which is exactly why it's worth starting here. Unlike every brand on the avoid list, Ocado sells exclusively RSPCA assured chicken across their own label range. Slower growing breeds, verified welfare standards, no routine antibiotic use, because Ocado operates without the physical store infrastructure that drives supermarkets to squeeze every penny from suppliers. They face different commercial pressures. The result is chicken at prices that sit closer to standard supermarket ranges than you'd expect. It won't work for everyone, but for anyone who has been buying Tesco or Sainsbury's under the impression they were getting decent quality, Ocado is a meaningful upgrade for a smaller price difference than most people assume. Next, Waitrose sets the standard the rest of the industry should be chasing. Before we continue, this next one might be the clearest example on the whole list. In August 2025, Waitrose became the first major UK supermarket to achieve 100% Better Chicken commitment compliance across their entire range. Every chicken they sell now comes from slower-growing Hubbard breeds, birds that take longer to reach market weight, meaning they actually develop properly before slaughter. The number that sticks with me is 70,000. That's how many trees Waitrose organic chicken farmers have planted specifically to provide shade, shelter, and natural environments for their birds. Not for marketing, not for a press release, for chickens. Their antibiotic use sits at 1/3 of the national average. Routine preventive antibiotics are banned entirely, and the difference is noticeable when you cook it. It browns, the skin crisps, there's actual flavor, and it doesn't shrink to half its size or flood your roasting tin with white liquid. One customer put it well. They bought a larger chicken, something they couldn't normally justify, and got 8 meals from it. Their usual supermarket pack barely stretched to 2 because a large part of it was water. The more expensive option worked out cheaper per meal. That's what real quality can actually cost when you run the numbers properly. Third on the good list, Marks & Spencer Fresh shows what proper sourcing looks like at scale. M&S was the first UK retailer to adopt Better Chicken commitment standards back in 2022. Their fresh chicken uses slow-growing breeds, carries RSPCA assured status, and antibiotic use across their fresh range runs at less than 1/4 of the industry average. The important word is fresh, because in 2023, M&S had a salmonella recall affecting their breaded chicken products. The rule is simple. M&S fresh chicken, whole birds, breasts, thighs, drumsticks is excellent. M&S processed chicken is a different story. The moment it's been reformed or coated, give it a miss regardless of the name on the packaging. Within that boundary, M&S fresh chicken is proof that doing this properly at supermarket scale is entirely possible. The fact that most other retailers on this list haven't met the same standards suggests it's a choice, not an impossibility. Finally, certified organic represents the highest welfare standard on the market. This last one isn't a supermarket or a brand, it's a standard, and it's the highest one available to British consumers right now. You'll find it at Waitrose, Ocado, and through farm delivery services if your nearest options are limited. Certified organic means meaningful outdoor access, proper space to move, natural behaviors like pecking, dust bathing and foraging that intensively farmed birds rarely experience. And crucially, it means time. Organic chickens take 10 to 12 weeks to reach market weight compared to the 5 weeks of industrial farming. That slower growth is associated with more properly developed muscle and bone structure, and according to many customers, better texture and flavor. Only 11% of certified organic chickens show white striping disease. Compare that to 92 to 94% in budget supermarket chicken. That's not a marginal difference, that's a meaningful gap between one production system and another. No phosphate injections, no banned antibiotics, no invented farm names, just a bird raised closer to how chicken is traditionally raised and food that tastes like it. A proper organic chicken stretched across multiple meals will often cost you less per serving than a watered-down product that's quietly been charging meat prices for added water. Keep that in mind next time you're standing in the aisle deciding. 7 brands cutting corners, 4 that are actually worth your money. The companies on the avoid list are counting on you not looking too closely, and now you are. Every time you choose differently, you're sending a signal they can't ignore. Subscribe before you go. Drop a comment telling me which product you want investigated next. Until then, stay informed, stay skeptical, and look twice before it goes in your trolley.